All right, three, two.
Sorry, I have to get that out. Okay.
And now it's time for us to digest the lowest rung of pop culture so you don't have to. You're tuned in to the all new Culture Cast.
I'm Nick,
I'm the Kiwi.
and welcome back to the all new Culture Cast. Tonight's episode, we'll be talking about some Dirty Rotten remakes.
Ooh, I like what you did there.
I didn't think about that one all week. The Kiwi and I am going to be discussing three movies which are basically the same movie from one another. And specifically 1964's Bedtime Story, 1988's Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and 2019's The Hustle, which are all based on the same movie, which is Bedtime Story, which is the original one in here. So we got a lot to talk about. So I think we'll want to just jump right into it.
Ooh, yeah. There's a lot to say.
Yeah. I'd like to say before we get started here, one of the reasons we chose to do this, among all things, besides it's an interesting sort of thing when Kiwi and I have been probably researching this a lot the last couple of days since starting to watch the movies, but more specifically, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is a movie from 1988, stars Steve Martin and Michael Caine, and it was a comedy that came out, got decent enough reviews, and just kind of gotten forgotten. Like, no, I don't think anyone really remembers it all that well nowadays, which a lot of movies that has. But of all the movies that both my family growing up and Kiwi's family growing up happened to watch frequently was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which is I think very funny. Not funny, but
It's like, what are the odds that, like,
yes,
it's not just that we both saw this movie, is that both our families watched and rewatched this movie many times.
it was in regular rotation.
And my mom can probably attest to this, but I'm pretty sure one of the first DVDs we ever bought was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I mean, we recorded it from TV, so we saw it on VHS, but it was like when DVD came out. I don't know what ages, if we have any young people listening out there, if they know what a VHS tape is. But we had VHS, and then when DVDs came out, it was like this, ooh, DVDs! And then so one of the first movies we bought was Dirty Rotten Scoundrel, and it was in like a paper case.
Yeah, the cardboard casing
Yes.
that they used to
Yes.
have. A lot of Warner Brother and MGM films used to have that back in the day. Since given away to the plastic case, although the cardboard one is sort of making a resurgence in certain ways because people want to go more green and not use as much plastic
That makes sense.
with the different Blu-ray cases. At least they're using a very much more flimsy plastic that's supposed to be a little bit better. I don't know, whatever. But so it's just I remember early on dating. I don't remember how it exactly happened. Maybe you said a quote from a movie, and I was like, "Is that Dirty Rotten Scoundrels?" Or it was early on.
Yeah.
Somehow it came up. I'm like, of all the movies, or maybe you started a quote and I finished it. I can't remember exactly how it came up.
But I remember we went out and had lunch with your dad,
Mm-hmm.
and you had said quote. I'm like, I know that. I was like, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and I think I surprised your dad by knowing that quote.
Well, I remember that I learned that we watched Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Our families had watched Dirty Rotten Scoundrels a few days prior too, and we were going to have dinner with my dad or lunch or something. And I said, during the lunch, just drop a line in the middle of it from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and see how my dad reacts to it. And I don't remember my dad's reaction if he had one. He wasn't one to react to a lot of different things, but I do remember we did something with my dad about that. Just
Yeah, you had mentioned it was the quote that they said at the end about Janet.
Janet.
No, we're talking about the cruises, and then blah blah blah, and then blah blah blah, and before you know it, we ended up. It was something like.
What is that line? I said why not? They said why not?
Yeah.
Soon we all said why not?
not?
And so here we are. I gotta say, growing up, more my dad, we would just randomly quote that movie, just random, and that was one of the
We did
ones.
too.
That was just one of the ones we would say.
One of my other favorite ones was "You're French. You know what it's like to be with another woman." Yes, to be another woman is
It's the
French.
To be
but
caught
that's
is
American.
Yeah. My dad also liked doing Janet,
J.
Jacko. It makes sense if you think about it. So we're just going to quote the whole movie right now. I think of the three movies, I probably, could you argue that our favorite is Dirty Rotten Scoundrels?
Yeah.
Probably because we grew up, we know it the best.
Yes, and we'll divulge into this in the podcast too. At what point, I don't know, because there's so much to say, and I have a feeling we'll be jumping around because there's three different movies, but they all overlap each other.
They do.
But it's like, I will say this. Bedtime Story is a great base.
Mm-hmm.
But Dirty Rotten Scoundrels came in and they added things and they tweaked things and they made it a better movie. And then The Hustle came in and they're like, we love what Dirty Rotten Scoundrels did. We're going to gender swap and we're going to tweak a couple things. But I don't think their tweaks made it better, just different.
No, I agree. And there are a lot of issues I had with The Hustle from a movie making standpoint, which we'll get into, which makes it very much a very inferior product, which is unfortunate because I think the idea of gender swapping that is an interesting one. I know a lot of people hate it when they gender swap movies, but I think that could have been...
I like the cast too.
With Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson. Rebel Wilson, is, I think you mentioned, is pretty much just playing herself.
I've never seen Rebel Wilson play a different role other than the character that she plays in every single movie.
That's true. But that had promise, but we'll talk about it. But just to get a quick overview for those who haven't seen either three of these movies, it's about two con artists who agree to who are rivals, but agree to work together, but then start to turn against one another and have a bet to take advantage of another person to swindle them out of money, and whoever wins leaves town. And then, of course, hijinks ensue. That's the premise, the storyline for each of the three movies. And the reason I say that is each of the three movies use the exact same script.
They did.
I mean, down to the same dialogue and everything, which is...
And the same inflection.
And more so the same inflection. I will give The Hustle credit because its presentation in terms of the characters were acting was different, whereas I feel Dirty Rotten Scoundrels copied so many things just directly from Bedtime Story to the point they're like, your mouth... Kiwi and I, we watched The Hustle because we're getting some free movies because we're all locked in and Epix was showing it for free. So we thought, let's see how it is. And then after we saw that, we were like, well, let's watch the original one. And we did that a couple of days afterwards.
Uh-huh.
And we're like, our mouths just dropped on how, like, scene by scenes were ripped off.
Like, literally, they were even filmed the same. Not even that they had the same script. It was cut the same.
Yeah. I feel more so Dirty Rotten Scoundrels did that with
Bedtime Story. Yeah.
The Hustle used a lot of the same dialogue, but I thought some of the camera angles and things were different that way, but still close enough. To the point that we looked this up. The original writer of Bedtime Story, their names were Stanley Shapiro and Paul Hennig. They were credited as writers for the following two movies, in addition to whoever wrote that movie. And on The Hustle, added the writer of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels into their writing credits, which they should because they use the exact same script and dialogue. I mean,
yeah,
there are movies that remake things and the story's like exactly the same, but the script is different enough. I'm trying to think of something that comes to mind.
But this is not what you're trying to say, but I didn't see either movie, but I heard the Alfred Hitchcock remake
Mm.
was the exact same scene by scene.
Yeah, that movie was more of an experiment than an actual movie.
Did it? And it failed, right?
Oh, yeah, miserably. Gus Van Sant was wanting to do a shot by shot remake of the original Psycho, which, at the time, Gus Van Sant just came off like an Oscar win for Good Will Hunting. I think that's how it goes. So he was like, he would be like, he had his full. He could do whatever he wanted. He had a carte blanche. Hollywood would be like, "What do you want to do? Here's money. Go and do it." And he wanted to do this for whatever reason, and that's what he decided to do, which is an interesting experiment.
Did he ever recover from that?
Yeah, he's done other stuff, but I don't think. I think his career would have pretty much been the same even if he didn't do the Psycho remake. And of all things, just to go on an aside, what's his name? Vince Vaughn played Norman Bates in the remake, which you think Vince Vaughn, he's like the goofy, funny guy in all those Owen Wilson movies, and he's playing like this crazy guy in Norman Bates. So it's kind of like,
Huh.
It was early in his career before he found his niche, but it's kind of like, oh, well, okay, that's the thing that he did. But anyway, that's I'm trying to think about a remake of a movie right now, and of course, nothing's jumping to mind that would be like it's a remake, but it does its own thing. Okay, here's an example: Ghostbusters, the 2016 remake.
Yeah, that works.
It had a couple of callbacks to the original movie, but it kind of did its own storyline, did its own plot. They didn't deliberately copy scene by scene with the same dialogue, the way that this is. It's like when you go and see a play, and then a couple of years later you see the play again, but it's done by a whole different cast and everything, and it's the exact same thing, but with different people. That's what I think of these movies almost. But anyway, so how do you want to do this? How do you want to go? How do you want to start with this?
I don't know if you want to compare and contrast Bedtime Story and Dirty Rotten Scoundrel.
We can do all three across the board and
I guess,
just see where it goes.
Forgive us, audience.
We're just kind of doing this on the wing here. I guess we can try to go through the movie bit by bit from beginning to end and talk about the different comparisons.
Right. We'll use Bedtime Story as the base story to compare and contrast because it was the original.
It was the original. So it starts off with extended introduction where Bedtime Story starts with the exact same scene and dialogue as Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, even shot the same, where
the hands.
I'm trying to think of the character's name. Not Freddy. Freddy was the Steve Martin character in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Lawrence Jameson.
Yeah.
Had the hands, and a rich woman was trying to give her like her jewels. And he's like, no, I can't take it. He said, but for the children. He's like, all right, for the children. And then it goes into the movie proper. And same thing with Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
No, but in the Bedtime Story, she gave more jewelry.
That's right.
It was extended scene, which I kind of liked what Dirty Rotten Scoundrels did. And again, maybe we're just going to say this because we saw that movie first, but it was just like, oh, for the children.
It's like, but for the children. It was a little bit more comical.
Yeah.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yeah.
And it was just meant to bring us into the movie right away, because in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, it then goes to the credits.
Uh-huh. Both have long credits.
All three have long credits.
Oh, right, they did in
Even The Hustle has the credit sequence, which is interesting because in modern movies you don't get credit sequences anymore. It's not a thing so much. So it was kind of refreshing to see that. But one of the things that Bedtime Story does heavily in the beginning is that it gives more attention to the Freddie Benson character, played by Marlon Brando, later played by Steve Martin, and then later, in turn, was the Rebel Wilson character in The Hustle. I kind of like what they did in Bedtime Story that made the Freddy character more of a. You kind of get a background of who he was, where he came from, his scams that he was running in the army. In Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, you just meet him on the train and you don't get much background on him. Um, I kind of like that the development they did, that he's a quick thinker. He's not just an idiot, even though he does a lot of dumb scams.
You know, I do like what they did when they, developing the character, but watching Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I never watched it. And I was like, damn, I wish they would have developed this character better.
I'll give you that.
I didn't miss it, but you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't watch it feeling like, oh man, this character doesn't make sense.
I'll give you that. I guess the thing I liked is that it kind of gave, at the beginning of the movie, equal time to both main characters, whereas in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, there was more of an emphasis in the first 15 minutes on Michael Caine's character before Steve Martin kind of entered the scene. But that's a take it or leave it. I enjoyed it, so there's that. Then we get to the car scene, the train car scene, which Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and and Bedtime Story, exactly the same dialogue and everything.
Yes, the sequence was filmed out of order, though.
Yes, because originally in Bedtime Story, the two characters meet in the car. They talk. Freddy's telling I take advantage of women, and in Dirty Rotten, and then they go to. He's like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to get a free lunch from a woman in the dining car. Which then they go to the dining car and do that. In Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and The Hustle,
the weaker sex. They mentioned that was the same phrase.
Yes. Yeah, the weaker sex, yeah.
Or the weaker sex.
There was a great line Marlon Brando said in the original one where it's something about if a man how did it go? Something about a woman kills a man every day for the rest of his life or something like that. And it was it was a very witty line. He delivered it well. I'm butchering it, so sorry, internet. I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember the verbatim.
But and in The Hustle, it was the same way with Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, where we're introduced to the Freddy character when he comes in the train car, scams someone to get a bunch of food and orders a ridiculous amount of food. I have a large narcourse, 2 bags of potato chips, 3 chocolate milks, and 2 beers. How about you have a beer? 3 beers. Thank you. I don't think I got the line right, but it's close enough.
I think he says, do you want a beer? 3 beers.
Yeah, I think I said that.
I thought you said, do you want a beer?
Okay, let's moving on. And then the Lawrence Jameson character is observing this, knowing, yeah, you're playing a scam. And then they go into the train car later on and had the discussion.
All right, I gotta interrupt your train of thought.
No, that's fine.
And point something out. Because I would say A Bedtime Story isn't really so much a comedy, it's more of a drama with a little comedy. There is comedy in it, but Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is much more of a comedy.
Yeah, it's because tough.
It's little things like when they're in the train car, we just rewatched the scene when he was talking oh, I'm going to scam her, I'm going to get the dinner. We debated about, did he actually order the food or did it just cut? Because in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, when she's like, oh, you can order anything you want. And then he ordered a bunch of food that you just said. And then the whole 2 beers. Do you want a beer or 3 beers? Whereas in the Bedtime Story, she's like, oh, I'll order give this man your finest food and the finest wine or something. So she ordered for him. He never said anything.
Right.
And he's like, oh, he got her scammed. It's little things that they tweak it.
Right.
That Dirty Rotten Scoundrels made it at least funnier than what.
Right. The type of humor. I mean, you also have to keep in mind. I'd say Bedtime Story definitely is still a comedy, but it's a comedy very much rooted in the early 60s, which is a very different type of style of comedy than rooted in the late 80s. Like they had more, might have had more witty one-liners in the 88 version, like the Steve Martin line where he orders all the stuff and everything, and that's funny, and that's funny. There, in the older one, the comedy's maybe a little bit more subtle, I guess, where it's like order anything he wants, and you're just laughing off of Marlon Brando's smirk, like I got away.
I'm not, familiar with like a lot of 60s movies, so maybe that's true.
It's just like they things evolve over time. I mean, look ahead at the comedy in The Hustle. There's a lot more slapstick in that movie um than Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
That's true. Also, the scenes cut way more fast.
Yes,
which is a problem I have with newer movies to begin with.
And that's one of the issues I had with The Hustle, just to jump around. Is that with Bedtime Story and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, there was time to breathe. You could absorb what's going on in their conversations, because it's a very dialogue heavy. They're very dialogue heavy movies. It's not complicated, but you gotta follow what's going on, and the movies are good about that. And then the comedy and the actions help tell the story. In The Hustle, it's like race to get to the next scene, race to get to the next scene. One of the things I was disappointed in is in the middle of the movie, Lawrence Jameson, who's a high-end, how-to-do con artist, very refined, and of course Freddy's much more unrefined. He goes for quick schemes. He doesn't think of the long picture. There's a montage where he's trying to train Freddy to be more refined, and that montage is also in The Hustle. And in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, you see his progression. You see in that montage how he's progressing, how he's learning. Still done very comically. I didn't get that same feeling that Rebel Wilson had learned anything, because you see Steve Martin slowly get better. Rebel Wilson, you really don't.
Because did she pour the wine? We joked about that, right? Or talked about that?
In the montage in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, there's a scene where he's learning to pour wine and hold the glass, and he's learning to do it. Oh,
that's right. Like he's like toasting it, or
And in Dirty Rotten, and in
sorry, viewers, you need to see our hand gestures right now.
In The Hustle, they don't really do that. They have one gag, which I thought was actually really funny in The Hustle, because it's just so stupid, where she's training Rebel Wilson to throw a knife.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why the knife was important.
I don't either.
Because it never comes up in the movie. But Anne Hathaway, who's the Lawrence Jameson character, she flings the knife up and catches it by the handle and whips it at a wall. Rebel Wilson tries the same thing, but the blade comes down on her hand. I mean, it's so stupid, but it's funny because that comedy kind of worked. And then when the montage was over, she whips the thing correctly, but that never comes into play later on in the movie, so it was very weird. But like the montage didn't work, and it was very, very quick. Like they had a couple of bits where they're doing stuff, and then it was over within like a minute or two. And the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels one lasted longer, I feel.
Wasn't Dirty Rotten Scoundrels the longest movie?
The Hustle was like 95 minutes. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is 150 minutes. And Bedtime Story is, I'm sorry, not 150 minutes. Yeah, 1 hour and 15 minutes, excuse me. And Bedtime Story is 1 hour and 38 minutes. So yeah, Scoundrels was the longest one.
And it's interesting because the whole intro developing Freddy was not in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. So they cut that part out, but they extended other scenes.
Well, one of the things I guess we should go into is one of the main differences that Scoundrels does is that they add a couple of extra subplots in there. and by subplots, not a subplot, I'm sorry, a couple extra twists in there that make the movie longer. Like there's that whole like 5 to 10 minute ending scene in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels when Janet comes back.
Yeah.
It's not in the original.
Right.
There's one of the things I liked about Bedtime Story is when Freddy decides to feel like he's getting gypped and decides, is that an offensive word now? I don't know. Feels like he's getting.
I never thought about that.
I don't know. Sorry, internet, if I'm being racially insensitive, but feels like he's getting screwed over and decides to leave. Before he even leaves, right when he's deciding about leaving, he says, "I'm going to stay," and they make the bet right there to whoever swindles the next person out.
In Bedtime Story.
Yeah. Whereas in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Freddy's like, "I'm out of here," and he's like, "Bye," and then he comes back the next day.
Right at that same point, though, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, he's like, "Well, I couldn't let you take money until you know how to spend it."
Yes.
And then they go on the, this is what I spent my money on. Oh, wait, they did that too.
They did that here,
They did? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, they did it there. It was, the premise was a little bit different in Bedtime Story, because to set the scene for those of you unfamiliar, Lawrence Jameson does not want to give Freddy, when they start working together, his cut of the money of the scams they're running. Freddy gets upset. He's like, "Why don't you want to give me the money?" And Lawrence says, in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, "I want to make sure you're spending it well."
Mm-hmm.
In Bedtime Story, it was a case of, what was it? It wasn't spending well, but
he was like he was helping people like keep them employed.
Yeah,
because they're crafts. You got to
you have to give back what you take, and Freddy didn't want any of that, and so in Bedtime Story, Lawrence like, "Fine, you'll get your money, and I want you out of here." And Freddy's like, "No, I'm staying." And so they're like, "That's not going to happen. We need to have a bet." That all happens in the same scene.
Yes.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Freddy says, "I'm out of here." And then he comes back like the following day, and they're like, "No, we're not going anywhere." And then they make the bet at that time. So it kind of extends that. I liked how Bedtime Story did it a bit better because I think it flows better. Like it kind of all dovetails in versus him leaving and him coming back. And not that it's a big, either way works. I think I like the other because it just sort of naturally flowed together.
Yeah.
Now, The Hustle did the same thing as Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, where Rebel Wilson was like, "I'm leaving." And again, that scene was short too, because Rebel Wilson's like, "Where's my money?" And Hathaway's like, "No, you're the student. You're not getting any money. You get education." And she's like, "Screw this. I'm out of here." They didn't go on any tour of like, "You need to spend it on this." And Hathaway just didn't want to give her money.
That's true. Wait. I'm getting my timelines confused. Lady Fanny, one...
That was early
on.
on.
That was right. Right. And that's okay. Then he came back. Duh, sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, that's so Dirty Rotten Scoundrels had not padding, but their execution was a little bit different, where it extended the movie an extra 10 minutes. And also something to keep in mind. Credits. A lot of movies in the 60s did not have end credits the way they have them nowadays. It would just be the end, and that'd be the end of the movie, which I think Bedtime Story did. The Dirty Rotten Scoundrels had the scrolling end credits with all the people involved in the movie, which would have also extended a few minutes as well. So, yeah. Something worth noting, keeping in mind. Let's talk about the major twist in the movie.
The ending?
The ending, yes.
Yes.
Because this is a big difference between the three movies. Even though the movies largely use the same dialogue, the same format, and everything else, where they differ are their endings. In Bedtime Story, the two characters decide to try to scam they think is a soap queen who's rich family, but it turns out she just won a contest and has no money, so they can't really scam her. Ultimately, Freddie supposedly falls in love with her. This is a large debate we had beforehand.
Well, I do think he at least cared for her. I don't know if it was love, but they did end up getting married. And maybe it's just because he was calling himself like a rat or that he was worthless, but like he didn't seem enthused about marrying her. So that, to me, he felt more obligated than like, oh, hey, we got married, versus, well, we got married and I'm not going to be good enough for her.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's two ways to look at it. There's your way where he ended up marrying her and realized, well, I'm stuck with this now. And then there's the typical 1960s movie ending. We love each other. Let's get married. And that's how it is. But in any event, the problems are resolved when Freddie marries. The bet gets called off. Freddie marries Janet, and they live happily ever after. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and I like what they did with this.
I love it.
It's a great twist. It turns out the person they happen to be scamming, whose name also was Janet, is a con artist herself. And in the end, swindles the money they were trying to swindle from her. She takes Michael Caine's money.
Right, because Freddie didn't have any money.
Freddie didn't have any money.
That's what he was, he didn't have any money. And when Janet went to Michael Caine or Dr. Schofhausen or Lawrence Jameson, she's like, he took all my money. So Lawrence Jameson
in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels,
yes,
felt sorry because he genuinely liked Janet, because he felt
when
she was
he
a
found
good
out
person.
She had no money, he was like, she's a good person. So he gave her $50,000 and said, get on the plane. So she left. And then it turns out that Steve
Martin did not take her money.
Right. She took his clothes.
Yeah, so he wouldn't leave the hotel.
Yes.
And warn him. Because, Steve Martin came back to see her, and, she scammed him. And it turns out she's a scam artist, and at the end, she comes back to them, and she's like, guys, I had fun with you. Let's go get them. They decided to have be a 3-part team.
You guys is the best 50,000 I ever...
last year I made so much money,
right.
But your 50,000 was the most fun.
Yes. They came up on the cruise. Janet, Jackal.
Janet. Yeah, it makes sense if you think about it. Nico, get up here, Nico. Unfortunately, Randy is a mute. Anyway, we're just the whole show should just be us quoting the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
It is such twists that just you love it. You laugh and you're like, that's brilliant, Like, it's much more of like not like you said, the slapstick, like the hustle, but like it would make me laugh out loud.
It's
Whereas
fun.
like a bedtime story wouldn't make me laugh out loud. I go like, ha, that's funny. Again, I know you said it's the 60s, but
very different types of comedy. What makes, I think, the twist, it works on a couple of different levels. I think one of the reasons why Dirty Rotten Scoundrels kind of has sort of been a better candidate to stand the test of time than Bedtime Story is that in Bedtime Story, they're scamming women and we're laughing along with them. I don't know about you, but that probably won't play as well in today's climate, that these men are just taking advantage of women. We're laughing that they're doing this. In Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, they're scamming women, but they get their comeuppance. Like they're not good people.
Yeah.
they're con artists, and yes, the people they're scamming aren't probably good people to begin with, like but they do get their comeuppance, and it works because it's funny, it's a twist, and even Michael Caine is impressed because he's like, yes, isn't she wonderful? Because he's proud of that he was scammed like that.
Yes, he did say that.
Now let's move on to The Hustle. They did some interesting things as well. The twist in there is they kind of flip the roles of the Freddy character and the Lawrence character in their reactions.
At the end.
At the end.
Yeah.
Because originally it was Lawrence who did not want to no longer scam her, and then Freddy said, all right, whoever sleeps with her wins the bet. In The Hustle, the Freddy character, played by Rebel Wilson, doesn't want to scam the guy, the internet guy, not the internet, I can't remember his name.
He was, I don't remember his name, but he was
it
like
doesn't
a
matter.
tech guy.
He was like a tech guy. He had some app. And he doesn't want to, because she finds that he's really nice. He's saying really nice things to her. Like, one of the things I think the film does well is at the beginning of the movie, it kind of establishes that Rebel Wilson has not gotten a lot of respect because of what she looks like. If you remember, she goes to the to scam the guy at the catfish the guy. He's like, oh, you're not hot, you're fat,
Yeah.
And here's this guy later on who's nice to her, who's genuinely seems interested in her, and so she says, like, she doesn't want to do this because it learns that he has no money either. He has to sell off all of his stock and he'll be broke after this. And so she's like, no, the bet's off. We can't do this guy. Anne Hathaway is the one who says, all right, fine, whoever sleeps with him first.
The bet was yes.
And she goes to do it.
Yes.
And she fails.
Right. I was just thinking that the amount of money was different in all of them.
That is true for inflation purposes.
Yeah, it was $25,000 in Bedtime Story, $50,000 in Dirty Rotten Scoundrel, and $500,000 in The Hustle. No, I do have a problem with Rebel Wilson said that she had $500,000. Given how she scams people and that she doesn't really work, I don't see her actually having $500,000.
I guess she could have lied about that.
But she gave the tech guy the $500,000 because they were passing back up on the phone.
Was that 500,000?
It was 500,000.
I guess she must have it. Maybe she just doesn't spend it. She just collects it. I don't know. But again, see, that's a fault of that movie because it makes her. She's supposed to be the schlubby, just trying to get by bit by bit, and here all of a sudden she has this huge. I wish I had $500,000. That'd be nice to have in our nest egg, right? But now the twist in The Hustle was that the tech guy was a scam artist.
It was the son?
He was the early in the movie, they make a reference to Medusa, the legendary female scam artist.
It should be like the Jackal.
Which was the Jackal there.
And Dirty Rotten Scoundrel.
And Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, who turned out to be Janet. And Rebel Wilson thinks Anne Hathaway is this Medusa character. And Anne Hathaway's like, no, it's not me. And it's revealed that their target, the tech guy, his grandmother was Medusa, and she taught him everything he knew. And so when he goes away, when Anne Hathaway goes to see him at night because she's wanting to sleep with him, it's implied that she does, but it turns out that when the audience thinks they're going to have sex, he put on a PowerPoint presentation for his new app, And somehow, and this part was, I didn't get this, like why she would do this. Somehow, he convinced her to give him $500,000 to invest in his app.
Right.
Why would she do that?
I think she did it out of like
Just to shut him up?
kind of to like so he would sleep with her. You know, like I believe in you, you know, like build up his ego and like, yeah, this is gonna be a great idea. And, you know, try and I don't want to say loosen him up, but you know.
Okay, but did he ultimately take money from Rebel Wilson?
Yeah.
Because I know they're going back and forth, but I couldn't remember how it ended up.
Yes, and he ended up with the money.
So I
think he got $1 million.
Okay.
Just like in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, you think that Freddie has sex with her, but he was like, she said, go shut the curtains. So I shut the curtains.
He said, do you mind taking a shower? So I take a shower. When I get out, she's gone, my clothes are gone, my wallet's gone, everything is gone. Even the traveler's checks you gave me, they're gone.
Yes, it's just those quotes. But that's when, yeah, Anne Hathaway invested in his company.
Okay. And Rebel Wilson gave him the money, and he agreed to take it after fighting about it.
Yes.
And then when he's on the plane going out, as it turned, he sends them a text message revealing who he really was. Which makes me wonder, was he really the tech billionaire to begin with? Or was he always a scam artist and he took on that guy's identity? Or was he both?
I don't know. Maybe he was both. I like how you keep saying scam artist because we know him, I'd say more as like a con artist.
Yeah, I guess it should be con artist.
And in Bedtime Story, they actually said the full name, Confidence Man, which it was so weird hearing them say it because everyone else would refer to him as a con artist.
They do reference Steve Martin as a confidence artist or confidence man in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels once.
Did they?
When Steve Martin arrives in Beaumont-sur-Mer with that other woman that gives him money, and then he goes driving around town, picking up women and everything, and Andre is following him with the woman in the car. She was like, that money was supposed to go to an operation for his grandmother.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's a confidence man, a scam artist, or something like that. It's like, do you want to press charges?
Yes.
Which leads to another great scene in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels that they don't have in.
Yes, they
don't have in a Bedtime Story. What scene is that?
The scene where he can't remember his friend's name.
Yeah, Lawrence Jameson's name. He can't remember it, and so he keeps coming up with like ridiculous names.
You can say the quote better than I can.
Oh, it's like Lawrence Fell, Lawrence
Jesterson.
Lawrence Jesterson. His name is James Jesterton. Lawrence Fells. Lawrence Jesterton. So I can't remember, but he just goes like on for a while.
And then Andre's like James Lawrence.
Lawrence Jameson.
Lawrence Jameson.
He's like, that's it.
We're like this.
And he's like crisscrossing his fingers. And then Rebel Wilson does the exact same bit.
Yeah.
Which isn't as funny, I don't think.
You know, we're probably just so used to like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Maybe if we had never seen Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, we would think The Hustle would be a funnier movie.
Maybe. See, one of the things I didn't like about The Hustle at the end is while they switched up some of the things there, which was neat, I felt it got too complicated. Just a little bit with the whole like, I'm going to sleep with him, but I actually gave him money, and then I fell asleep, and he was gone. But he came to see you, then you gave him money, but you didn't give him money, but then you did give him money. And then he sent a text message that happened to have like a thing on it that says, I'm Medusa. I don't know. It just seemed like it overcomplicated it. Maybe it didn't, but I felt Dirty Rotten Scoundrels nailed the formula so well that it improved on Bedtime Story. That veering from that in certain ways just didn't totally work for me.
Did you say that in The Hustle, not only did they do gender swap roles, but then they also switched roles at the end?
Like their motivation sort of switch. Like
Yeah.
the Lawrence Jameson character took on the role of the Freddy character from the earlier versions.
Going back to the Bedtime Story sets up Freddy, his character, and that he conned a lot of women just by sleeping with them.
Yes.
That he wasn't out for his money, which maybe makes sense why Freddy suggested, well, let's make her the bet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because that's something that he knew. Whereas, like, we didn't know Steve Martin, his character in that movie, that he was scamming just women to sleep with them.
Right. It seemed like he just wanted whatever he can get, like money, food, just to get by. But you make a good point. Like that does kind of come out like, all right, fine, we'll just sleep with her then. It's like, well, that does seem to come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Whereas Bedtime Story, they do establish that
it makes sense if he was scamming other women, because he scammed a lot of women. And he was promising that he was going to marry them. And
at least one, but if he did one, he probably did them all.
Yeah. He took pictures of people's houses and was like, oh, I'm looking for this house.
Yeah, this is my grandmother's house.
Grandmother's house.
And he's like, this is just the way she described it. Like, do you have like a feather bed? Because my grandmother says feather bed. Like, oh yeah, we have one upstairs. Like, is it as soft as everyone says? Like, well, why don't you come up and see? I'm like, don't mind if I do.
I love how you watched that movie one time and you're quoting stuff from it.
Well, it had a lot of good quotes. I mean, Marlon Brando, people say he's one of the world's greatest actors, but Marlon Brando's character is so slimy, but he's charming at the same time in Bedtime Story. I feel that he's kind of fun to watch.
You can definitely tell Steve Martin drew all his inspiration from Marlon Brando's interpretation of Freddie Benson.
Oh, I'm going to disagree slightly.
Really? Because, like, I'm watching Bedtime Story, and, like, when Marlon Brando would do something like, oh, that's where Steve Martin got it from.
I can see Steve Martin taking inspiration, but I think he kind of put his own Steve Martin-y spin on it.
He made him slightly funnier.
I think the bigger culprit is Michael Caine.
You think they're more alike?
Oh, yeah. David Nevin, who played the original version, I think Michael Caine was really channeling him, including how he dressed and looked, which I don't know how much input he had on that, but like the pencil mustache, the slick back hair, even the way he we're looking at the DVD cover right now of the two, and we have a screenshot of Bedtime Story up on our TV here.
You can watch Bedtime Story for free on YouTube.
But even the way he said, like, Ruprecht, it is I, your brother. Like, a lot of the inflections was...
I still think Steve Martin had some of the same inflection, though, as what Marlon Brando did. Maybe Michael Caine took more from this guy. But...
I've no doubt that there was inspiration heavily from the original. I feel that Steve Martin's character was not as maybe charming as the way Marlon Brando's character kind of came off. I think he was a little more crass overall, like just the way it's more of a Steve Martin role. Not to say he didn't take inspiration, but I don't know. I guess we'll just have to watch Dirty Rotten Scoundrels again and get an opinion
And
on it.
again and again.
But Glenn Hadley, who played the Janet, she starred with Steve Martin in another movie a few years later called Sergeant Bilko, which is based on the an old TV show of the same name. She played his love interest, and she died. Not that
I think it was last year.
Within the last couple of years. I don't know exactly when, but I was saddened to hear that. So,
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels obviously was based on Bedtime Story, and they improved and extended scene. I don't think The Hustle took anything from Bedtime Stories that Dirty Rotten Scoundrels didn't already do.
Nothing comes to mind other than maybe they gave a little bit more background on the Freddy character towards the beginning.
Yeah, it was a different setup though.
Right. Like she wasn't looking to sleep with guys necessarily. She just wanted money from them. She did say going back to the $500,000 that she supposedly had in her bank account. She did say that was all in Bitcoin. I don't know if that makes a difference. I don't exactly know how Bitcoin works.
Oh, she did say that, didn't she?
Yeah.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know how that works either. If you know how Bitcoin works, let us know, and if we can get rich off of it, then we'll.
But he took whatever it was she had.
Yes. Why did she give him the $500,000? Because
she thought he didn't have the money.
Here's the thing. I'm just thinking about this now. He thought she did not have the money to pay the fake doctor. Because in the movie, and midway through, when they're trying to scam the third party, and each movie does this, the Freddy character pretends he has some sort of disability that a specialized doctor can fix and pay and fix.
She pretended she was blind.
She pretended she was blind.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, he said he couldn't walk.
Yes, as well as Bedtime Story, couldn't walk.
Right.
And then the Lawrence character learns of this and pretends to be this highfalutin doctor who can cure these ailments. And of course, the payment for him is the amount that they bet on. And the implication was that the Freddy character doesn't have the money, so that's why they need this third party to come in and help pay for it. But that would reveal that she did have the money if she wanted to give him $500,000.
Yeah.
Like, did they explain that, or was it just a goof?
I thought it was weird that she had $500,000.
Well, that might be, but let's, for the sake of argument, say she did have it, and then she revealed that she
gave it to him.
I don't know how it works.
Like, isn't it when like he had to sell his shares, and she was
Right.
like, oh, like she felt bad for him, like because he was a nice guy, and so I think she was giving him the $500,000.
That still seems weird. That she would do that, even if he was a nice guy. That she'd clean out her bank account for him.
Again, I thought it was weird that she had $500,000.
Wow.
But Michael Caine's character gave her the $50,000 when he found out that she wasn't rich.
But he gave her the money because he thought Freddy stole it from her.
Oh, that's true.
And he was PO'd at Freddy. And he knew he could afford giving her that money because then he just put Freddy in jail or something. I gotta double check that scene now. I don't remember because now that's not making sense to me.
I don't remember any red flags while watching it.
Red flags?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, like it didn't seem like that's weird. Why would she do that?
Yeah. I'm sure it explained. I don't know. Can't remember. We watched it on Friday. It's Thursday now.
Believe it or not. we're just lost in our days.
Yeah, we're all confined to home because
you
of
were convinced it was
I
Wednesday.
thought it was Wednesday, but it's really Thursday as of this recording. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to talk about. How
I will say one of my favorite quotes from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels was, "For my name is Dr. Emil Schaffhausen the third," where Bedtime Stories doesn't say the third.
No, they added that for Dirty Rotten Scoundrels,
and it was great.
To set the scene. This is the part of the movie where Lawrence Jameson is pretending to be this doctor, and Freddy's pretending to be unable to walk, and he's trying to test him to see what his if he feels anything in his legs. So he's smacking him in the legs. I think in Bedtime Story it was with a cane, or
I think it was with a cane.
And in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, it was like a fake flower stem. It was more like a whip at that point.
Yes.
And he's like smacking him in the legs, and Freddy is trying to like hold it in. I will say that scene was much funnier in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, primarily due to Steve Martin's reaction, because his like eyes are just like bulging, trying not to like scream out in pain because he's whacking him pretty hard in the legs. Like, look, Doctor, he's so happy, he's crying.
Did they not say that in Bedtime Story?
I don't remember. I feel they may have, but
something along those lines. I think they did, but they didn't say the third.
No, they added the third in Scoundrels.
And the Hustle, she was blind, so they couldn't use that bit.
No, they get more slapstick with that one. They did. She took like was it a cracker or some piece of food? Oh, French fry, and Anne Hathaway put it.
That's right. That's right, in the toilet.
She wanted let's test your taste buds, and she put it in the toilet and gave it to have her Rebel Wilson to eat.
She not only put it in the toilet, she like wiped it around the toilet.
Yeah, and Rebel's like, "Oh, it's great, just the way I like it," or something like that. And then they also, can I have another? And then they also, it's like, now blind people know how many steps there are. And she opened up the door. Now run to the elevator. And she slams the door closed before she can get out the room. And I mean, it's much more slapsticky, much more crude in that way with the toilet stuff. I'm always a fan of a good toilet humor joke, as you know, Kiwi. But
yeah, I could do without them. But that one was funny. Because Anne Hathaway played it so well. Like
she did. I liked Anne Hathaway in The Hustle.
I did too.
I think she played the role well. She kind of had the, I don't know, say like she's like the stereotype ice cold bitch kind of.
Totally, yeah. And I like Rebel Wilson. I wish she would just have different roles, or
I've heard. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I heard good things about Isn't It Romantic, where she's like suddenly finds herself in a romantic comedy type thing. Jen, I think, said like that movie, but I haven't seen it.
I just feel like she plays the same character.
She does. I mean, she's like, she hit gold with Fat Amy.
She did.
Which honestly, Fat Amy is just her playing like her cameo role in Bridesmaids.
I'd say she was a bridesmaid playing the same character.
Like, it's, I guess if you're good at something, you stick with it. But yeah. So let's kind of, I don't know how long we've been going here, but I'm sure it's at least an hour. But if you were to choose, how would you rank these ones? 1, 2, and 3.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels 1, Bedtime Story 2, Hustle 3.
I'll agree with that. I think Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, maybe because it's growing up with it, but I do think it is the best of the 3 movies. I think they refined a lot of stuff with Bedtime Story, and it becomes more classic. Because there's some movies that you watch and like, oof, this is dated, even from the late '80s. This still works. The Dirty Rotten Scoundrels still works.
You know, the name also just sounds better. Dirty Rotten
Right.
Scoundrels, where a bedtime story
I don't know where they got that from.
doesn't tell you anything about the movie.
I don't know how it relates to the movie. Like even the hustle, like because they're like hustling.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels even sounds like a comedy.
Yeah.
Like a bedtime story sounds like, oh, is that a kids movie? I don't know. The Hustle sounds like it could still be. You can give that name to a drama film. The Hustle, starring.
Wasn't there one called that came out?
There was one called American Hustle.
Yes.
That was like a. That was a what do they call it, like a dramedy. But like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, you're not going to get a hard hitting drama piece called that.
No.
I did like. There's a line in Bedtime Story that I liked where earlier on in the film, Lawrence's character is in cahoots with the local police chief. And the police chief is offering, and they do the same bit in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. The police chief is offering to have Freddy killed with his, like, I know someone, Renee the Knife. He's excellent at hiding the body. Which he says, no, don't.
Excellent musician.
And in Bedtime Story, after they're doing their scam, the police chief comes up to him like, there's been no sighting of Freddy. And Lawrence turns to him and I said no, Renee the Knife.
That's right. Yes.
He's like, no, like no one's seen it. I don't know, it's just a nice little bit that I think played very well by David Niven there, because it's just good delivery that I'm like, that's funny. So I don't know. I think is that going to do it? I feel there's more. You can have a thesis on all these movies.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different quotes that varied a little bit. You know, one of my favorite lines from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels was the whole 2 beers, 1 beer, 3 beer line, and the Hustle changed it to cake.
I think it was like 2 pieces of cake. Do you want a piece of cake? And then she said no. 3 pieces of cake. Like she was going to have another piece. So they kind of did a little variation on it. So, what's one last interesting fact, then we'll wrap it up, is The Hustle came out in, the Bedtime Story came out in 1964. 24 years later, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels came out. And 31 years later, The Hustle came out. And
that's a weird thought.
It is, isn't it? Because no one complained that they're remaking Bedtime Story. What? Back in 1988. But I remember people saying like they're remaking Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, even though it had been like 3 decades since they had done it. I wish. Oh, I'm sorry.
If anyone has seen The Hustle and they haven't seen Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I highly recommend they go and watch that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really is the best out of the 3 of them. It's cast well. They improved upon the lines.
You know, maybe in another 20 years they'll make another version of this movie, and hopefully they're a little bit more original in the
adapting
in their adaptation. Because I think a good remake is one that pays tribute but does its own thing.
Star Trek.
That's more of a complicated case.
Okay, fine.
I was going to say, you didn't watch it with me. I recently saw the Child's Play remake, the Chucky movie,
yeah.
and I enjoyed it. I would argue that it may be better than the original in certain ways.
Whoa.
But both are good. But here's the thing. The 2 movies they have the same similar premise, same sort of characters, but they do things very, very differently. And it's a good way to remake a movie without being a paint by numbers, like repeat of the original. So maybe if they redo this sort of film in the future, they'll kind of make it a little more varied than seeing the exact same thing again.
I mean, like the scenes were the exact same.
Maybe you can get away with that once, because I don't think anyone remembered Bedtime Story in 1988.
No.
But
I didn't even know that's what Dirty Rotten Scoundrels was based on until you told me.
But now that everything's on video or DVD or streaming, people are going to be more wiser to that, and they'll be like, they'll say, "Oh, this is just lazy. Why are we doing that?" So I don't know. You filmmakers out there, you producers who do this stuff, heed our advice. So, final thoughts, Kiwi, before we get out of here.
Watch Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. This is my favorite of the three.
I
Improved
concur.
upon.
Improved upon. I concur. All right. Well, I guess that'll do it. So I'm Nick.
I'm the Kiwi.
And this has been the All New Culture Cast. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And we'll be back next week with an all new episode. Perhaps, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out.
We have nothing else to do.
Well,
Just kidding.
Yeah, right. We'll be back with something.
You've been listening to the All New Culture Cast. We try to post new episodes every Monday evenings 3 to 4 times a month. Check out our backlog. We could be found at allnewculturecast.libsyn.com. You can also find us on Apple iTunes and wherever else podcasts can be downloaded and listened to. This has been the All New Culture Cast, a Saltwater production. Original material copyright 2020. Thanks for listening.